our success really is built on those that we allow to be a part of our team.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in for episode 3 of the Blueprint Podcast. We have an extraordinary guest with us today. His family story is a testament to the belief that dreams do come true. They're the recipients of the Golden Arc Award and passionate business leaders, DJ Britt.
Elvis,
how are you?
Afternoon.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the invitation.
I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So to get started, I wanted to dive into this incredible journey by what were some of the initial challenges you faced when you first got started?
So Terry and I began our journey about 37 years ago. We've been in the system for 37 years. And so if you can imagine 37 years ago, we were freshly married, had just been awarded our first restaurant. And in the midst of all that, a little bit later on, you got our two sons being born. So I think there were a lot of challenges in terms of us being newlyweds, starting a family, clearly being involved in an incredible brand like McDonald's, and really just trying to figure this out. So that was a part of really the challenge and the fun piece for Terry and I as we started our journey. And along the way, it's certainly been one that has continued to be challenging, but I will tell you, very blessed, very fruitful over the 37 years that we've had. And I know it'll continue to be that way, certainly as we talk about the succession plan with Austin and possibly Caleb.
Yeah.
So exciting times, exciting times.
You talk about being fruitful. How did you go from one to multiple?
Yeah, it's a great question, Elvis. I think what Terry and I learned early in our career, it was all around people, and it's a process. The McDonald's system is much like athletics, and clearly, we are certainly passionate about our athletics. But what you find out is the McDonald's team is the same principles. And so I think what Terry and I learned, there's a process. You got to certainly have an extraordinary level of discipline, trial and error. So I think early in our career, it was just really us getting a good footprint of being new owners, being entrepreneurs, but yet learning over the years that clearly you had to focus on infrastructure, your people, the balance of financials, the balance of KPIs and really upholding the standards of McDonald's. So over the years, it's been one that certainly we've had to learn as we go to some degree. But I'll tell you, McDonald's as a franchisor certainly gave us a great playbook to work through.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
Yeah, and I see it even through doing real estate. It's like you said, people. That it's a big part of it.
And it is, Elvis. We got to understand that our success really is built on those that we allow to be a part of our team. And so I think that was another piece that when you're talking about Terry and I being in our mid-20s when we started this journey and being able to learn that in order for us to grow, that we had to grow through our people.
Yeah.
And so you're right. That's a big piece of it. And, sometimes you look at it and say, a lot of people talk a lot of times about risks. And I think we all talk about financial risk. Clearly, as you look at it in your line being in real estate, when you look at properties or financials, but you never take the time to say the risk of people. And that's not a negative. It's really us allowing other people to grow and let go.
Right.
So that's a challenge within itself as well.
Steering a little bit away from that, sometimes in life, we get unexpected lessons that we learn. Can you share any challenges or experiences that you encountered?
Yeah, I think over the years for Terry and I, certainly I'm going to look at it and say, Elvis, it's really trial and error. There were times earlier in our career that I think we had the mindset that we wanted to grow. And we certainly branched out to grow, but then we quickly realized that we were not prepared, especially from the people side of the business. People continue to be a challenge, right? And finding good people that represent your brand and represent who you are from a culture point of view. And that's been one thing that we take a lot of pride in is what is our culture, defining our culture through the onboarding process with new employees through their tenure. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that you learn is dealing with people. You know, when you and I deal with a phone, we pretty much figured that out, you know, through trial and error. But the human element of people, and we're all built different, and we all have a story that it becomes a challenge, but yet it becomes a success when you're able to talk to different people and understand that not everybody you use the same approach with, you know. So,
I know what you mean.
It's very interesting. Yes, yes.
I'm starting to learn how to communicate better.
Yes,
you know, sometimes
absolutely.
Having to read people, and I like to talk to someone in person than over the phone. I mean, I do it both ways.
Yes.
But in person, when I say something, I can see their body language.
Absolutely.
I can kind of see they might raise their eyebrow a little bit. And I'm like, okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, stuff like that.
You for that.
And I like to notice that kind of stuff because sometimes, even whenever they're replying to something you're saying, their facial expression, their whole body language might be saying the complete opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I applaud you. That's one thing that I feel like you need to continue that as you move along, right? Is you're right. And we find that a lot of times text messages and so, you know, they can be certainly interpreted.
Yeah.
So different ways. So I guess you call it the legacy piece of what you just alluded to is talking to somebody face to face, being able to shake a hand, look somebody in the eye. No substitute for that.
Exactly.
No substitute.
In an interview you did in the past, you mentioned there was a little bit of peer pressure going up, especially in your college years. They'd want to go out on the weekends, and you're like, I got to work.
Yeah.
How did you, first of all, how were you disciplined enough at that early age in your life to just be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay focused?
Hey, that's a great question, Elvis. You know, I think it really starts off with discipline. And, you know, being an athlete, ex-athlete, that it's the discipline piece of it. And you're right. There were so many times that we had friends and wanted to go out, and I had to work. And you know, I found a lot of peace within myself about that. I never struggled with it. Yeah, did I get picked on, heckled? And you can only imagine everybody saying, oh, man, you can't go out with us tonight because you're going to work at McDonald's. And being a UNCG guy yourself, and what happens there that your friends want you and pulling you in one direction. But I think it's us understanding our own personal brand, our discipline, and where do we want to be. And I look at it now, and some of those same mates that I had then, and I look now, very successful. I wouldn't change anything. If I had to do it all over again, I'd still be going straight to work and not out, because it's a balance. You know, it was work and play balance back in college. And so, did I do it perfect? No. Did I do it the way that I wanted to do it? Absolutely. Yeah, and I wouldn't change it. And
even, I mean, I moved away from UNCG my junior year. Yeah. And that was part of the reason I was trying to get away from all the partying and just, you know, I mean, I had a good time. I mean, it was fun, but I was like, I need to stop doing this.
Yes.
And start doing something else, you know. And that's when, in my senior year, I started working at Truist. So I was like, you know, I need to start working, start doing something.
Absolutely.
Instead of just, hey, what am I going to do tonight or tomorrow night?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's, for all of us, it's experience. And it's also having birthdays. You know, the older we get, the wiser we become. We learn from things. And so, I think for any of us that are focused on our future and know where we want to go, that for us, it's relatively easy. And not to say that it's easy to do, but easy in the decision that we make that's where we want to go, and we've got to be disciplined enough to be able to execute it.
In your business, I mean, how do you view the relationship between having a successful business and community engagement?
Baldwin Properties, your trusted partner in commercial real estate sales, leasing, and property management in the Triad area, making a difference for almost a century.
Critical. I think when you look at, and Terry and I have always led by servant leadership, Elvis. We are certainly big supporters philosophically and from a culture point of view, and looking at servant leadership. So with that servant leadership, it is about giving back to community, is about being engaged in your community. It's about supporting your community. And I would have to say that I think Terry and I have been very successful in being community driven and really supporting whether it be our schools, our police department, our churches, that we take a lot of pride in that, and that will continue. And that relationship piece, you mentioned relationship. So it's the relationship that we found that you have to build in order to be successful as well. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that with Austin and Carson and Caleb has been a point of emphasis for us as parents, is the relationships that we build with people. Mm-hmm. And so that's critical. And I think we've just been very, once again, blessed, fortunate to live the life and have the life that we have, to be able to touch so many people. When you look at the organization, you look at how many customers that we potentially serve a day. Yeah. That's a lot of lives that we touch. So we take a tremendous amount of pride in that, and we don't take that lightly. Yeah. It's one that, once again, we just value. We value the community in what we do and how we support.
And that's something that I wanted to start doing, especially this year, to try and get a little more involved, just helping out in the community in any way I can. Mm-hmm.
And, I think for us, let me take a moment here that, as you look at McDonald's, the Ronald McDonald House of Winston-Salem specifically, but we've got Ronald houses throughout the country. The ability to have that relationship with the Ronald House is just very special. It's near and dear to Terry and I. It's near and dear, to our family. Mm-hmm. And the ability to go in, Elvis, and know that you're able to assist people, that clearly parents that are clearly having challenges with their little ones in terms of pediatric needs and Britter's children. That affiliation with that house is, you can't put a value on it. It is one that we're very proud of. But then when you look beyond the Ronald House and in local community, whether it's being a part of Rotary or any other organization within your community that you're able to get involved with, I would highly encourage that to you. So I'm really proud of you to hear you say that you want to get involved. Because it's fulfilling, right? It's fulfilling for all of us to be able to give back. Mm-hmm. So
and some of that is me going to church and feeling like at first it was like I need to help out to kind of, just try and help other people. Mm-hmm. Now it's like I feel like I have to. Absolutely. It's like me going to church and trying to learn every week, and it's like I feel like now it's more like you really need to start helping other people, because that's what it's all about. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think to your point, Terry and I, just very blessed, Elvis. The Lord has blessed us beyond belief, quite honestly. And to your point of us giving back, that's what we believe in as good disciples of Jesus, that we need to give back. Yeah. And so much like you and what you're saying early in our career, we realize that, and being able to help others gives us blessings. But the true blessing is that we can be a blessing for somebody else. Yes, sir. And so we
we really buy into that as well. And so I'm really, really glad to hear you say that. Anytime that I can hear a young person talk about the importance of Jesus and giving back, man, that's an inspiration. So, yeah.
So, talking about Jesus and not going to church and stuff,
Yeah.
what would you say, how has that played a role in your life? Maybe just now or, in the past?
Great question, Elvis. I think for Terry and I, that's Jesus has always been the center point of our life. And looking when you get to our age and then you reflect back and the decisions in your life in general, you start replaying and rewinding a lot of things that happen in your life. And the one thing that I can say is that we have a firm belief that no doubt we understand who's in control, okay? And we understand it's his path, his will to get us to where we're at today. It certainly wasn't because of DJ and Terry. Yeah, we played a small role, but I think the bigger path was him, in that clearly I can see now, Elvis, that this is what we were called to do. I couldn't imagine myself doing anything different than what we're doing now. And really, it just, it's numbing. It's numbing to think that you, first of all, work for a brand that's internationally known, right? Like McDonald's and the Golden Arches. And to be a part of that McFamily is incredible. And like I said, the lives that you can touch, the people that you can touch is absolutely incredible. I never would have thought, at 18 years old, that be sitting here today and be talking to you, right? And being able to talk about just pure reflection on what Terry and I've done over 37 years, and God willing, we'll continue more with Austin and watching him grow. And we've got Carson, and he's over at High Point University doing his thing, as you well know, and then we got Caleb, who is over at High Point playing soccer. So he's fulfilling, what is important to him right now, but looking at future. Are these guys wanting to become a part of the family business? And clearly from Terry and I, there's no added pressure, no stress, because each one of us have to realize what that calling is. What's the path? And then it's up to us to run that path. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the more that, I guess as I get older, I start seeing things and I'm like, why did this happen? And then I've noticed it now to where like something a year ago happened and I'm like, I think.
Now I know.
Yeah, I was like, I think that's why that happened.
Yeah, that was a bigger plan than what you thought.
Yeah,
and it's, for all of us.
I start asking questions, especially throughout the day sometimes, and I say, why is this happening? Why is this going on? And I don't have the answers right away, but sometimes, it's just, it works out. And then something better comes along or something completely different.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to trust that more, because God has a plan.
Him. That's exactly right. It's what we all have to do, don't we?
Yes, sir.
No doubt. No doubt.
All that you've done so far, I mean, it's a lot. How do you, when you see a difficult challenge, how do you approach it? And then how do you overcome it?
So I think a key piece for us, and we use this phrase, seeking to understand. And I think it's a lot of times that when we walk into a difficult situation, that we want to seek to understand all angles. And then we want to make solid, factual decisions, not emotional.
Right.
Not emotional. So we want to be factual. And I think it's that piece of seeking to understand, taking the facts, and being able to sort through them to where you can make good, solid, factual decisions. I think a lot of times we're all guilty of emotions coming into play. So we want to give that open door policy to our people. They come in and talk, we listen. And then at that point in time, we attempt to make the best decision that we feel. Once again, doesn't mean we're all going to agree.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we've got to make the best decision for all parties involved, including our customers. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's one that not every challenge is going to take the same approach. There's different approaches. But I think the seeking to understand piece, when you sit down and you try to de-escalate a potential challenge and bring the tone down and try to seek to understand, it seems like it's a comfort level rather than getting agitated. So yeah, I think once that's another item that I've learned.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking to either get into the business or try and look for a little more stability in their financial situations?
Planning. I think planning is huge, Elvis, and planning to be successful. Have a plan to certainly put money aside. As Terry and I tell our boys, there's always going to be a rainy day. It's always going to be a rainy day. That doesn't mean literally that's raining outside. But, there are going to be days, there's going to be moments in time in our life. It's going to be a challenge. So I think having a well thought out plan, a plan that certainly includes investing at a young age, like yourself, and being able to take what is important financially to you and building that over time. And of course, the older you get is having someone that you trust with finances, with planning. So I would say do your homework as it relates to your financial planners and people that are giving you advice with your finances. So I think the whole planning piece, the accountability, that's another word that, depends on how you look at it. It can certainly be a word that, as you look at it, motivates. And for those people that want to do better, they don't mind talking about accountability, is what I've learned, versus some of the others look at that word as a challenge. And but the whole accountability piece. And then, just realistically, the follow-up from each one of us as you look, you got to be realistic. I have to be realistic with myself. And so ensuring that those milestones that you plan to achieve, are you achieving it? And if you're not, why aren't you achieving it? And so the ability to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's because of the guy in the mirror, the lady in the mirror, is important. And then what changes are you willing to make? But the whole planning piece to me is the key.
And that's, for the past year and a half or two, I wasn't as good as that. I mean, I'm not the best right now,
right.
But I'm trying to learn and trying to come up with a plan. Because, I mean, last year I had plans and I was like, this is what I want to do. I have goals.
Right.
And then I got to the end of the year and I was like, I feel like I'm a little closer to them, but not where I want to be. And then this year it's a little different. It's like, what am I doing this month as opposed to last month? Yeah. That's getting me closer to my goals or farther away from my goals.
Correct.
And what do I do to stop doing that?
Correct. And it takes a ton of discipline. I think for all of us. Yeah. I really do. And so I think there's a lot of times as we walk through, and you just alluded, that we may not hit our targets, but then when we ask why we didn't, that we don't have an answer. And that's certainly a little bit concerning within itself as you look at your personal challenges. Right now, but trying to understand. But I think the focus in what it takes, the discipline. And I know I've said that word a lot, Elvis. But when we all have to be disciplined, and if we're not disciplined to achieve our goals or do the necessary steps that it takes to be successful, then we shouldn't expect a high outcome. Really. Yeah. So it's just individually finding out what is your individual process to make you successful. What does success look like? Yeah. And it may be different for each one of us. So, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Before we go, do you have any, you've touched on a lot of great things. Is there any advice or anything you'd like to give to the audience if they forget everything we talked about.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing over that I would say to Elvis that, I would say is write items down. Write items down. Have a logbook, because I think there's a lot of times that we want to go for a phone and plug information in a phone. And I think personally, when we write stuff down, there's a higher level of accountability that goes into when you see it in print. I'm the one writing.
Yeah.
So I got to hold myself accountable to those things. And also it gives us a point of reflection at the end of the day or end of the week, because we all say we're busy, right? We all say we're busy. And we get to the end of the week, and if you've logged your task or your expectations, take a moment and see how busy you really were versus what you got accomplished.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I would say. I would leave you with, continue to follow your dream, right? I'm sitting here now and saying when I was 18, I never thought I would be sitting here today. So truly blessed, number one. But number two is documenting your experiences and what's worked as successes, what hasn't worked as challenges, and being able to call an audible on the game plan, right? So that's what I'd leave you with.
Yes. Well, thank you. It means a lot for you to, first of all, do this.
Absolutely.
You've given me a lot of things to think about. You're telling me things, and I'm like, that's some of the things that I've been asking myself the past couple of days, and I'm sure others listening as well,
Yes.
that it helps them out too.
Sure.
So I really do appreciate
Absolutely. Well, good luck in the future, and certainly do appreciate it.
Likewise.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Elvis. Appreciate it.
Thank you for supporting me and following me on this journey. Till next time.